Today we're going to be looking at the feet. So just bring yourself to lie down first of all. And you're just going to place a strap around the ball of your right foot. Okay, and left leg is just going to stay with a bend in it, nice and simple. And you want the whole of your upper back to relax into the ground here. And a nice light grip of your strap. And you can close your eyes if you want to, or you can open your eyes. It really depends how you feel. It's going to be a quite slow process for the first couple of minutes. So it might feel quite meditative or quite calming to close your eyes here. Okay, so we're going to then just start to point the toes up towards the sky as we inhale. And notice how that feels in terms of stretching through the top of the foot and the shin. Okay. And then as you exhale, you're going to point the toes towards you, and the heel is lifting up to the sky. So now you'll feel it through the back of the ankle, back of the calf, and the sole of the foot a little. And I want you to just work with your breath. So every inhale, you're pointing the toes upward. And every exhale, you're pointing toes back towards you. And I want you to really notice how it feels in both of those directions. And it feels pretty good to close your eyes. So feel free to close the eyes here and just work with the movements, work with the sensations. Maybe you'll even spread the toes a little bit from time to time as you travel between the inhale and exhale. And I want you to really just become aware of what's happening in the foot. If you're somebody that wears shoes every day for long periods of time, which we're human beings, most of us do, we are placing our foot into a shape that's structured. And what happens is all of the tissues start to consider this mold a normal position for our foot to be in. And what happens is the muscles don't work in the same way because they don't have the same freedom that they do when we're barefoot. And what then happens is that there's less information traveling between the foot and the brain. And the brain assumes that we don't need to use these muscles so much. So it doesn't send the same resources or information through to the foot. And because the shoe is containing the foot really nicely, the foot doesn't ever get to practice really being on unstable surfaces, which is how we build strength in the arches of the feet as well as lots of other things. So let's take 2 more breaths like this, just building a little bit of mobility, a little bit of hydration in the fascia of the foot. Little bit of awareness of how things feel. And then when the second breath is finished, just bend the knee, release the strap, bring the foot to the ground, and just pause. Notice how it feels between left and right side. And you might feel like there's a little bit of a tingling or a coolness, a numbness, a warmth, something that feels like you just did something. And once you've noticed whatever it is that's happening in the right foot, let's swap to the left foot. So strap is going to come around the left foot now. And we're nice and relaxed with our grip of the strap. And as we inhale, we're going to do the same thing as the first side, toes pointing upward, and our awareness comes to the top of the foot, the shin area as well. And then when we breathe out, when we exhale, toes point towards us, heel of the foot lifts up. So we stretch out through the back of the ankle and Achilles and calf area and the sole of the foot. So just keep on moving with your breath. Eyes can be open, eyes can be closed. And just notice if there's any similarities or differences between this foot and the other foot. And we're going to be just exploring how it feels to remind these muscles that actually we want them to work. We want them to continue to do the job that they were designed for. So we're going to be thinking about how we can literally talk to our feet, talk to our toes, talk to the muscles that move all of those parts, and remind the brain of the connection between the foot and the brain so that the nerves and neural pathways in between join in once again. And just ask yourself the question, how often do you stretch your feet? How often do you think about stretching your feet? I know that for years I was running 50 to 60 miles a week, and not once did I stretch my feet. I stretched my calves, I stretched my hamstrings, I stretched my quads, but I never really thought about my feet. I didn't practice yoga back then. And now I wish I did know this. So just thinking about how we can take these practices into our day-to-day lives. One more breath. And then slowly bend the knee, release the strap from the foot, place the foot back down to the ground next to the right one. And you can move your strap to the side. And just take a moment, notice any sensations that there are to notice there. And then just slowly roll to your side or hug the knees into your chest and just rock and roll your way up to a little seat. Okay. And then once you're seated, just find a comfortable seat. Cross leg is probably going to be easiest. And then what you're going to do is give your feet a little awareness practice. So with your toes, you're going to take your fingers and you're going to interlace a finger in between the gap of each of the toes. Okay, so it's kind of like you're hugging your foot. But I want it to actually be that your toes, and you can take your arm under here, or you can just rest it a little further up your leg towards you. And I want you to let the hand be relaxed, but I want you to grip the toes really tightly around the fingers. So it's like your toes are hugging your fingers. Okay, I know, a little bit weird. And keep hugging, keep gripping. And then relax the toes, but keep them interlaced. And then grip again, hug the fingers. Hug the fingers. And just notice how that feels. Okay, you should, if you were to touch the arch of your foot, feel like there are some muscles engaging there. All right, and then relax the toes. And then hold the ankle and just kind of see if you can twist your foot, the upper part of your foot and your toes, a little bit left and right without moving your ankles. Nothing drastic. We're not trying to force movement here. And just notice how easily that does or doesn't work. And there's no judgments. Just another movement in each direction. Twisting left, twisting right. Okay. And then just release. And just take a moment, feet to the ground, and just notice how right foot feels compared to left foot. So there might be a little bit of that numbness or tingling coming back in, a little bit more spaciousness around the toes now. And once you've observed whatever there is to notice, let's move to the second side. And you're going to now take your fingers and interlace a finger in between each of the toes. Okay, so get into the grooves. At least one knuckle of your finger. Doesn't have to be all the way down to the hand. And then grip the toes around the fingers. Let the fingers be pretty relaxed. Grip the toes. Notice the muscles firing up. Notice if all of the toes join in or if it's just some of the toes. So I did a little practice yesterday, and what I noticed is my middle toe doesn't join in anything. I've got my big toe and little toe trained pretty well, but the middle toe doesn't do anything. So I need to practice telling my middle toe, we're going to start working. So as crazy as this sounds, with time and practice, we can really train these muscles to know how to switch on. So relax the toes. And then let's do it one more time. Hug the toes around the hands. And just check in, tune in, see how it feels. And then relax those toes, okay? And then keep the fingers in there. Hold the foot in such a position that the ankle is steady, and you're just going to see how it feels to twist the upper part of your foot kind of to the left and back, left and right. And then just slowly stop twisting. Release the ankle, release the fingers, and just place the feet down ahead of you again, a little bend in the knees. And just notice how that feels. Okay. And then go ahead and bring yourself over now onto your shins and your knees. All right, hips stay above the knees for now. And let's tuck the toes under. So now we're getting into the plantar fascia. If this is awkward on your knees, just roll up your mat and just double it up a little bit so you've got a little bit of padding for the knees. And if this feels like it's manageable, let's take it further. So we're going to sit on our heels. So you're going to sit your bottom onto the heels. And now you'll start to know what it is that I mean about stretching out through the sole of the foot. So let's taking another 5 breaths here. Fingers are nice and relaxed. If it's too much to sit on your heels, you're going to bring yourself back up to here. Okay? 3 more breaths. Last breath. All right. And now release the feet, release the toes. You're coming to sit on the top of the foot. All right, so you're sitting on the top of the foot now. If you feel a stretch on the top of the foot, stay there. If you don't feel a stretch on the top of the foot, grab a cushion or a block and lift your knees and place the block underneath your knees. And now if you feel a stretch, that's great. If you still don't feel too much, come to your hands, lean back and lift the knees. Okay, and then you should feel it through the top of the foot and the shin. And you're going to be anywhere between the first direction I showed you and here. And just check in. How does it feel to stretch out in this area? So if you've got your block under your knees, just release the block. Place the block over to the side now. And you're going to take your hands forward and come on over into a tabletop position. Okay, so tabletop position. And then tuck your toes under. And just lift the hips and the knees from the ground. Hips are lifting up to the sky, downward facing dog. And you're going to spread your fingers nice and wide. Lift the hips as high as you can and start to walk the dog. So as you lift one heel and bend the same knee, we're getting into that opportunity to massage out and create this sense of hydration all the way through the plantar fascia in the foot, through the Achilles ankle area, and all the way through the back of the legs up to the hamstrings. Okay? And then let's just start to slowly look forward, soften the knees, and take tiny little steps. Normally we jump to the top of the mat, but come onto tiptoes and just walk the feet all the way to the top of the mat. You'll come to fingertips at one point. And another opportunity to strengthen the arches. So you're in a forward fold. And while you're here, bend the knees as much as you need to. Push down through the big toe and the base of the big toe. Push down through the pinky toe and the base of the pinky toe. Push down through the heel of the foot. Head is heavy, neck is relaxed, belly is drawn into the spine. So there's an element of control here. And notice how when you push down through the toes, as well as the heel of the foot, hips lift up higher. So you manage to get more release through the fascia in the back of the legs here as well. Take another breath here. And then draw the belly to the spine. Just roll yourself up slowly. Keep the feet firm to the ground and just lift up vertebrae by vertebrae, crown of the head to the sky. And bring the hands into heart center. And with those feet nice and firm, I want you to draw your attention to pushing down through the heel of the foot, the base of the big toe and the pinky toe, and the toes themselves. So you've got this kind of pushing down into the earth effect. And at the same time, the inner arch, you're lifting it up. And what that does is fire up the muscles above the knees and the hips. So by activating the feet, we get strong in the legs. Belly draws in and up. Hands are going to come into heart center. Okay? Keep the power in the feet here. And as you inhale, I'm going to get you to keep the hands at heart center, but you can adjust them to be alongside your body if that feels better. I want you to just come onto the balls of the feet and lift the heels from the ground. Find somewhere steady to focus. And if you're wobbly, just hold on to the wall like I am next to me. Okay, and then lower the heels down, spread the toes wide in case they scrunched up again. And then same thing again, belly to the spine, hands are either at heart center or alongside the body if that helps you with balance. Lift the heels up so you're on the balls of the feet. Strengthening the muscles in the arches of the feet. And then lower the heels back down. And the calf muscles, you'll feel it in the calf muscles. 3 more rounds. Inhale, come onto the balls of the feet. Okay, nice and strong through all of the muscles in the legs, nice and strong through the core. Notice how it gets easier with repetition. And then lower yourself back down, giving yourself more control with your foot. Inhale, balls of the feet. Standing tall, wobbling is okay, but try to control it. And then heels are going to come back down. Last one, come onto the balls of the feet. Use a wall if you need to. Belly in and up, spine long, collarbone broad. Nice. And then slowly lower the heels down. Hands come up to the sky. Sink down into chair pose. Okay, and then lift the toes up. Spread the toes as wide as you can. And look down. Check whether they actually spread wide or not. Belly draws in. Collarbone broad. And then broaden the toes. Push down through every single toe. Sink into the hips. And then now put the weight into the balls of the feet. Lift the heels up again. Notice how that gives you a feeling of power and a whole lot more firing up in the thighs as well. Nice. And then place the heels down, lift the toes, lift the balls of the feet. And now you start to feel it more through the front of the leg. And then toes down, heels lift. And then heels down, toes lift. And one more time, toes down, heels lift. And then heels down, sink down into a little squat, okay? Push into the feet, see if you can stand yourself back up. Use the power of the foot to help you. Exhale, come into that little squat. Inhale, come back up. Come onto the balls of the feet. Get nice and strong. Hands can be wherever you need them for balance. And then come down slowly. Focus, focus. Use the toes, use the balls of the feet. Squat. Keep the heels lifted, belly in towards the spine. Stand up nice and tall. Still with a bend in the knees. One more time. Exhale, if you can, lower down. Collarbone broad. And then inhale, takes us back up to standing. And then lower the heels down to the ground. Hands at heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Step the right foot back. Stay on the ball of the back foot. Inhale, come up into crescent pose. Okay? So as you sink down into the hips, reach away through the right heel of the foot. Notice how that both stretches out the foot and helps you to get more space in the front of the hip, but it also fires up muscles in the back of the leg here. So now, when I tell you to look forward, just ahead of your mat, bring the left toes, spread them wide, so they're your support base. Belly in and up, hands at heart center. Weight into left foot, pick up right foot, but just come onto tiptoes. Little bend in left knee. And then pick the foot up a little bit. Use the wall if you need. Flex the foot. Notice by flexing the foot, you power up the muscles on the back of the leg. And then make the foot floppy. You don't have quite the same power there. So flex the foot, get nice and strong, and then hinge forward into warrior three. Collarbone broad, heel reaching away, toes then draw in a little bit. So now you're firing up a different part of the hip here to stabilize more. So using the toes, using the feet can make stabilization a bigger thing in the shapes. All right, now soften the knees, fingers forwards, and land it back into crescent pose. Use the left big toe to really get firm in the ground. Use the right heel to push away, stabilizing through the feet. Hands down, step back to downward facing dog. Okay, take a nice big breath. And then look forward, step right foot forward. Stay on the ball of left foot, crescent pose second side. So you're sinking into the hips, reaching away with left heel to get stable. Use the right big toe, push down through the base of all of the toes if you can. Belly in and up, nice and strong in upper back. And then go ahead and bring the hands into heart center. Become aware of the feet, like in every movement we make. Toes spread wide, big toe pushing down. Weight transfers into that right foot here, okay? And then you're gonna slowly lift up left foot. Toe comes to the floor though, little bend in right knee. And then weight into right foot. Pick up left foot, make it a floppy foot. And then fire it up. So toes reach towards you, heel reaches away. Notice how that gives you more strength now in the back of the leg. Just that action of using the toes. And then start to straighten out right leg, lean forward more. Left leg reaches back. And then draw left toes down and inward a little. So it's almost like you're rolling your thigh in. And then keep pushing down through right big toe. Spread the toes nice and wide. Take another breath. And then soften right knee, hands forward and then up. Take it back into crescent pose. All right, simple ways to strengthen our poses by adjusting our feet. Hands to the ground, step back to downward facing dog. Okay, take the toes and point them out to the corner of the mat. Walk the hands to the back of the mat. So forward fold with a weird little toe thing outward. And then inhale, halfway lift, spine long. Exhale, bend the knees, sink into Malasana. Okay, lift the toes up so the weight's into the heels. Spread the toes nice and wide. Some of you might feel it through the back of the heel and ankle here. And then spread the toes down really wide. If you need to roll anything up for behind your ankles, you can. Take a nice big breath just here. Okay, and then just slowly, hands to the ground, straighten out the legs, come back into forward fold, and bring your weight into the balls of your feet. Okay, belly to the spine, heels are lifting high. Notice how that's engaging the calf muscles here. Take another big breath. And then lower the heels down. Walk the hands forward to the top of the mat. Soften the knees, take little baby steps on tippy toes to the top of the mat. You'll come to fingertips a little as well. Inhale, halfway lift, spine long. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come onto the balls of the feet. Little bend in the knees, belly to the spine. Can you bring the hands to heart center and come up to standing tall? Bring the hands up to the sky. We're coming onto tippy toes. Big breath here, toes spread wide. And then lower the heels down, hands to heart center, okay? Soften the knees and just jump to the side of the mat. Feet nice and wide, hands to the hips, big inhale. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips, hands to the floor, and then walk your hands underneath your hips, head heavy, neck relaxed. And then most of us, the weight of this shape takes us into the heel of the foot. I want you to bring the toes, spread them wide, push down through every single foot and the base of the big toe and pinky toe and the heel. And notice how that brings you forward. So it's like your hips are a bit better aligned now over your knees and ankles. Torso folds in two, or body folds in two, torso reaching more towards the legs now. Keep belly drawn into the spine. That's going to assist you with the forward fold. So notice now how bringing the toes into action, using the muscles in the feet here, enables you to get more stretch through the back of the leg. Take another breath. And then just slowly walk those fingers forwards. Little bend in the knees, one hand either side of the hips. Come to stand up nice and tall. So just step to the top of the mat, hands at heart center. Get firm through the feet. Every time you're at the top of the mat, remind your feet there's something to do. We're standing up. We've got to be strong. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky. And then exhale, come into forward fold. While we're here, just because we can, come onto the balls of the feet, lift the heels away from the ground, take a big breath. And then bring the heels down, bend the knees, bring the hands to the ground and just lower your bottom to the floor. Take the legs out ahead of you. Toes point towards you, sit up nice and tall. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Reach to wherever you can get to. Keep the toes pointing towards you because what that's going to do is engage the muscles above the knees, which is going to help us to draw the belly into the spine, help us to come into our forward fold better. But what's nice is it's going to give us a chance to release through the back of the legs, okay? Arms resting wherever they need to. Doesn't matter if we can touch our toes or not. That's never my objective with this shape. Notice how it feels to release through the back line of the body. That's the objective, finding space, finding release. And what's great here is with toes pointing towards us, we're also releasing through the plantar fascia. All of the joints, I think there's something like 31 joints, bones connecting together in the feet, which means there's a lot of connective tissue. There's lots of tendons, ligaments, tiny little things that need hydrating, and muscles that need to be moved to keep this a healthy, functioning part of our body. And we're all very, very interested in what's happening with our hips and our lower back. But when our feet are tight, when we're not using these muscles in other ways, other parts of the body have to do some of the stabilizing that's going on down here. Take another breath. And then just slowly roll yourself up, vertebrae by vertebrae. And then take a moment to look behind you. Bring yourself down onto your mat. Okay? And just take a moment to draw the knees into the chest. Sweep the knees over to the right side of the mat. Left hand to the left side of the room. Toes are relaxed now. Right hand is helping the knees across your body. Simple spinal twist. Really short one today, just for 3 breaths. Breathing into the left line of the body. Spaciousness in between the ribs. Along the outside line of the hip. An opportunity to awaken some of these areas in the body that we don't think about so much. And every week now I'm going to be drawing our attention to some of those more hidden away treasure spots. When you finish your next breath, bring the knees back into center and then make your way to second side. So knees over to the left, right arm over to the right. Gaze wherever you need it to be. Slowing the breath down, taking time to unwind for 3 simple breaths. Tuning in to that outside line of the body, which is going to be a focus for us next weekend in our Vinyasa class. Next week when we come into our Wednesday talk as well. Take another breath here. And then slowly unwind, come back into center, and just release the legs down to Shavasana. Feet fall naturally, whichever way they happen to fall. Arms wherever you need them to be, alongside the body or out a little bit wider. Closing your eyes. Settling into this place of stillness with a tiny bit more awareness of what happens or can happen in our feet. Let the whole of the back line of the body melt down to the ground. To take this opportunity just to pause, just to be present. If you have the time to stay a little longer in Shavasana, feel free to stay there. Otherwise, start to bring a little movement into the fingers and the toes. Beginning to reach the arms slowly up overhead, inviting a full body stretch. Knees draw into the chest, giving them a hug as you roll a little, maybe side to side, maybe back and forth. Eventually coming to roll over and rest for a moment on whichever side feels best. And keeping your eyes closed. When you're ready, just bringing yourself up to a comfortable seat. And just taking a moment to pause, to check in. See how you feel in the mind, in the body, how the feet are doing. And let's see if we can carry some of this awareness to our foundations, to how we stand, how we carry ourselves in our day-to-day movements as well as on the mat. Carrying that with us into the rest of our day, the rest of our week. And let's bring the hands gently together at heart center. Bowing our head to our hands in gratitude for the practice. Namaste.